There was this one old lady, OK Boone, who was like a legend in the whole market. Seriously, everyone knew her. The moment she showed up, you could feel the energy shift. Nobody dared to step out of line. Even that bald guy who always flicked his cigarette butts everywhere, he'd freak out if he saw her coming, scrambling to catch his cigarette before it hit the ground. That's how much respect, or maybe fear, people had for her. The secret to her power? She was tireless, a force of nature. All day long, she'd patrol the market, and if she saw anything shady, anything that broke the rules, or any minor crime, she'd whip out this little camera she always carried and snap a photo. Evidence. Then she'd march right down to the district office and file a report. For over 20 years, rain or shine, they say she'd filed over 80 complaints. That's like, at least one a day. Her dedication was so intense, it had supposedly caused 5 different district chiefs to lose their jobs. And through it all, OK Boone was still going strong, sharp as a tack, like an unshakable flag right in the middle of the market. Now, the people at the public service office were so over her. The second they saw her coming, they'd try to hide, to get out of the way. They even had a nickname for her, the Goblin Granny. But this new guy, this fresh-faced young man, he wasn't intimidated at all. But this new guy, this fresh-faced young man, he wasn't intimidated at all. What are you taking photos of? You're violating my rights to my own portrait. Evidence gathering needs to have recordings. This reaction from the new guy instantly grabbed OK Boone's attention. Something even more shocking to her was that Park Min-jae was requesting her to take a number and stand in line before she could get it solved. This is my first time taking a number in my 20 years of complaints. I've been going back and forth for 20 years. I've never had to take a number before. Well, remember to take one from now on. Complainant number 6. Okay. Boone didn't argue back. She just glared subtly at the name on his nameplate and said, "You're done." Park Min-jae, who was still inexperienced, didn't know the disaster that was coming his way. After leaving a strong sentence, OK Boone left. The next morning, she actually took a number according to the rules. But it wasn't just one ticket. It was a whole stack of tickets. Along with that, she dumped a massive pile of complaint documents in front of Park Min-jae. The young guy, who was new to the job, was stunned. Luckily, the leader spoke and said, "The leader wants to speak with you." He quickly asked the leader to take his shift so that he could escape. As soon as the leader sat down, he felt that something bad was going to happen. You were really prepared. OK Boone wasn't just some bored troublemaker. Her life was actually pretty lonely. She'd never married, had no kids. She ran this tiny little tailor shop across from the market, but honestly, it wasn't exactly booming. These days, nobody really gets clothes custom made, you know? Her shop was kind of musty. Mostly, she just helped the neighbors patch up their old clothes. Even though she seemed like this loud, bossy old lady, always arguing and raising a fuss, deep down, she really just craved companionship and someone to talk to. In the whole market, the only person who truly seemed to want to be close to her was the stall vendor she called Jinju. Besides her relentless complaining, OK Boone also had this secret passion, learning English. She'd signed up for classes at a few different centers, but because of her age, she just couldn't keep up. "Teacher, can you please slow down a little bit? Slower, please, slower." Eventually, because she was slowing down the whole class, they politely suggested she might want to withdraw. So, there she was, OK Boone, just kicked out of English class, walking down the street feeling bummed. And then, out of the blue, she saw Park Min-jae chatting away in fluent English with a foreigner. So, Park Min-jae's English is that good. A spark of hope lit up inside her. She marched right over to him, and with a completely non-negotiable tone, she said, "You're going to teach me English. I've got money." But Park Min-jae wouldn't give her the time of day. He politely declined, but try as he might, he couldn't stop OK Boone. After being rejected, she began to go to his office and used false complaints just to quaff him. She demands that he be her English teacher. "Grandma, why are you treating complaints like a joke? I am Jennifer. When I was studying at the English Academy, they told me I needed to have an English name. That's what my teacher gave me. Have you thought about it yet? About you teaching me English? Isn't it better for you to go to an English academy?" She wouldn't leave him alone, even during the weekends. Early in the morning, OK Boone called Park Min-jae. "Hello, this is Jennifer. Are you awake yet?" "It's me, Jennifer." "Isn't that the crazy old lady OK Boone? Calling this early in the morning? What's going on? What else?" "I want you to teach me English." "Sorry, gotta hang up. This is so annoying." After yet another rejection, OK Boone just went for it. She brought a bunch of snacks to the public service office waiting area, planted herself there, and started studying English vocabulary, eating and reading out loud. Park Min-jae was finally driven completely nuts. He had to politely ask her to leave, to which she obviously refused. Before her repeated requests, Park Min-jae refused directly this time. Young people these days are way too cold. When an older person asks you like that, you should at least pretend to think about it for a second. That's just basic politeness. You know it is polite, and yet you still force people to do things they don't want to do? You really won't do it? That's right. I can't. As soon as he said that, his coworkers immediately sensed that something was about to go down. They saw OK Boon gathering all the complaint documents she'd accumulated over the years, getting ready to submit them all to the front desk. Just brace yourselves. When the pile of documents landed on the desk, everyone's hope just disappeared. They all looked to Park Min-jae to save them. Seeing the pleading look in his coworker's eyes, he had to give in. He came up with a plan. He picked out some really difficult English words for OK Boon to memorize, promising that if she passed the test the next day, he would teach her. Because of that chance, OK Boon actually stayed up all night studying. Unfortunately, the next morning when she took the test, her age got the better of her and she couldn't remember everything. Park Min-jae finally had a legitimate reason to refuse, and he felt a huge wave of relief wash over him. He even had a nice meal to celebrate. But fate has a funny way of turning things around. That evening on his way home, Park Min-jae noticed that after school, his younger brother didn't go straight home but instead went into a tailor shop. Curious, he followed him inside, and to his surprise, it turned out to be OK Boon's shop. What shocked him even more was that OK Boon was preparing a huge, home-cooked dinner for his little brother, and the kid was chowing down, like he was totally comfortable there, not even a little bit shy. Section Chief Park, if you're hungry, have some. Okay. Park Min-jae took a bite, and he couldn't help but be blown away by OK Boon's cooking. I'll eat. After the meal, Park Min-jae noticed that the walls were covered with sticky notes with English vocabulary words written on them, and he couldn't help but feel a little touched. He asked OK Boon why she was taking care of his brother like that. She replied softly, "One time, I saw the kid sitting in front of my shop, munching on dry ramen noodles for dinner. The poor thing looked so sad. So, I cooked him a meal, and I've seen him around ever since. It's lonely eating by yourself, you know? Having another person, another set of chopsticks is nice." Hearing that, Park Min-jae was deeply moved. He realized then that this old lady who seemed so eccentric was actually a kind and lonely person. So, he changed his mind. He decided to genuinely teach her English on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. No tuition. All he asked was that OK Boon occasionally cook dinner for his brother. That made OK Boon ecstatic. Park Min-jae's teaching method was really unique. He didn't use rote memorization but applied English to everyday life. "How are you?" "I'm fine." "Good. I am going to get some coffee." Park Min-jae even designed all sorts of fun games that made learning English more enjoyable. Park Min-jae even turned everyday conversation into songs to help OK Boon remember things more easily. He also encouraged her to speak up and told her that she had to relax to open her mouth. To train OK Boon's speaking skills and boost her confidence, Park Min-jae took her to a bar where a lot of foreigners hung out. He put a timer on her and told her she had to strike up a conversation with a stranger. The first time, she had to awkwardly talk for at least 5 minutes before she could come back. To improve her speaking skills, she had to put herself out there. "My name is OK Boon." At first she was still shy and uncomfortable, but thanks to Park Min-jae's encouragement, she gradually became more confident. She was finally able to mingle with foreign friends to the point that she completely forgot about the timer. Her English level improved rapidly because of it. Before long, the Mid-Autumn Festival arrived. On this day that should have been spent with family, OK Boon was quietly eating instant noodles by herself at home. Suddenly, Park Min-jae appeared with his little brother. On this holiday, a lonely old woman with no children and 2 orphaned brothers had created a special family. Seeing OK Boon gently picking fish cakes for his brother, Park Min-jae couldn't help but whine like a child, asking her to feed him too. "Get your own." The 3 of them sat together to admire the moon, sharing their life stories. In that warm atmosphere, OK Boon finally opened up and revealed the real reason why she wanted to learn English. It turned out that she had a younger brother named Yang, who was the only relative she had left in the world. The 2 sisters were very close since they were children, but because of the war, her younger brother was taken to the United States when he was young. Now he'd completely forgotten his Korean language and mother tongue. OK Boon always yearned for her younger brother in a distant land, wanting to know if he was doing well, if he was getting old. But because of the language barrier, she couldn't even communicate on the phone. For the past 60 years, she often dreamed of the scene of her and her sister together as children. Learning English and being able to contact her brother became the biggest wish and motivation of her later life. Park Min-jae was deeply touched after hearing this. He noticed that on the back of the old photo that she had brought, there was an address and phone number for her brother in the United States. So the next morning, he secretly called that number without telling her, hoping to bring her a surprise. But the response from the other end of the line from her brother Yang was like a bucket of cold water thrown straight in his face. His attitude was extremely terrible, even coldly cruel. "I don't want to talk to her. There was nothing to talk about with her before, and there will be nothing to talk about later. Don't call me again. Please tell her. I don't remember who she is anymore." Those words left Park Min-jae feeling incredibly sad and confused. He realized that the problem between the 2 siblings wasn't just a language barrier. Because her brother had been so heartless, he felt that OK Boon continuing to learn English was pointless. But he couldn't bring himself to tell her that cruel truth, afraid she wouldn't be able to handle the shock. So, he lied, saying that he had to study for an exam and didn't have time to teach anymore. Couldn't you do it once or twice a week? I'll pay you this time. You've never accepted payment before, but I've felt bad about it all this time. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. I have to go. Sorry. To avoid seeing her sadness, Park Min-jae chose to leave. He closed the door to Ok-boon's shop, thinking that his connection with her had come to an end. When he got home, he even told his younger brother not to go to her house for dinner anymore. I saw that a new soup and rice place opened near our house. Go eat there from now on. Park Min-jae thought that doing this would completely sever his relationship with Ok-boon, but he didn't expect that he would see her again soon, because it wasn't long before something happened at the market. The greedy real estate developer who had been eyeing the land, wanting to kick out the small business owners, was upping the ante with some dirtier tactics. Either way, it's true that you were selling alcohol to minors. Come on, come with me to the station and tell them that. Was it you who reported it? What? The one who accused my shop of selling alcohol to minors was you, right? Watch what you're saying. What benefit would I get from doing that? Who else in this market would do such a thing besides you? What are you saying? What kind of person do you think I am? Are you crazy? You're always going around looking for someone breaking the law so you can report them. Don't slander me. It was definitely you. Falsely accused, Ok-boon went to the public service office the next day to find out what was going on. She saw some officials smoking in a public place and was about to go over and lecture them when she overheard their conversation. She was shocked to discover that the district government was colluding with the crooked contractors. To help the contractors, they planned to use legal procedures to forcibly evict the small business owners. It turned out that the reason the leadership had approached Park Min-jae in the first place was to ask him to come up with a way to help the contractors resolve the construction delays caused by the stubborn small business and owners. The stalled project was giving them a huge headache. Park Min-jae deviously came up with a plan. He proposed. First, the government will publicly halt the project, pretending to side with the small business owners. Then, the contractors will sue the government, and the government will intentionally lose the case. That way, they can announce to the public that they tried their best, but losing the lawsuit was unavoidable. That way, they can avoid offending the contractors and avoid responsibility to the small business owners. But the files that Ok-boon had collected contained a lot of problems with the market. If they were brought to court, they could cause the government to win the lawsuit. To make the plan work, Park Min-jae decided to approach her, pretending to teach her English. Unbeknownst to her, she thought the government was genuinely helping her, so she trusted him and handed over all the important evidence she had collected to Park Min-jae. It wasn't until she overheard their conversation that she understood everything. All the evidence she had painstakingly collected had been used by Park Min-jae, becoming a tool to help the developers and help the government shirk responsibility. The betrayal from someone she trusted caused Ok-boon immense pain. She was so angry that she couldn't stand it. She rushed to the public service office to demand the return of the documents she had worked so hard to gather. But when she learned that all the documents had been considered trash and destroyed by Park Min-jae, she completely exploded. You've always interfered in other people's business in the market, been misunderstood, even hated. But many times, you did it to protect the neighbors and market friends who you've been with for decades. The Pig's Feet shop owner takes care of her mother and has never gotten married. She has to wake up early every day to cook the meat. If she has to move, how will she live? Ok-boon, you're so nosy. You think people will be grateful to you for always worrying about other people's problems? You'd better take care of your own business and stop getting yelled at. Ok-boon knew that everyone's lives were very difficult. This market was their home, and Park Min-jae was siding with those who wanted to destroy that home. She angrily confronted Min-jae, questioning whether he had pretended to teach her English to exploit her. That's not it. I did it because I wanted to ease my guilt. I initially planned to teach for a while and then back out. Unexpectedly, because she was so emotional, she slapped Min-jae. Min-jae, unable to restrain himself after the slap, blurted out the hurtful words that her brother had said over the phone, right there in front of everyone. You don't need to learn English anymore. I called your brother. He said he doesn't want to contact you, doesn't want to see you, doesn't even want to remember you. He doesn't remember who you are. So, you didn't need to put in all that effort learning English in the first place. You're lying. Hearing those cruel words from her most beloved relative, Ok-boon, was as though her life force was drained from her. Her heart ached as if cut by a knife, her vision blurred, and she collapsed to the ground. Park Min-jae, seeing her suffering in front of him, seemed to begin regretting his thoughtless words. And his younger brother, standing behind him, also witnessed that coldness firsthand. Although he lived with and depended on his brother Park Min-jae, he still maintained a certain distance in his mind. He often felt uncomfortable with his brother's lectures, and he had never truly understood or even felt the invisible pressure from his brother's sacrifice of giving up his studies to become a civil servant for his sake. Ok-boon's appearance had become a turning point, breaking the balance between the two brothers. Being around her, he felt a pure warmth that was different from his brother. And he also saw a different side of his brother that he had never seen before. He had thought that the brotherly bond would gradually be mended, but unexpectedly, his brother made him cut off contact with her. Although he didn't say it, he felt confused and let down. Until he witnessed his brother's coldness with his own eyes, the boy no longer remained silent. For the first time, he truly stood up and spoke out. Not for himself, but for the old woman he respected and felt compassion for. He couldn't accept his brother's actions. Do you know why she always interferes in everyone's business in the market? Because she's very lonely. She has no family and has lived alone her whole life. Brother, you can't treat her like that. The sincere and conscientious criticism of his younger brother was like a mirror reflecting the hidden corners of Park Min-jae's heart, things that had long been hidden under the guise of professionalism, principle, and efficiency. It made him begin to question himself, wondering when he had become such a pragmatic person. The first time he looked through the detailed records Ok-Boon had sent, he realized that his optimal calculations and logic were weak and cruel in the face of a reality filled with humanity and suffering. Feelings of guilt and self-doubt gradually rose in his mind. After that shock, Park Min-jae started to change very quickly. Soon after, the developers sent people directly to the market to force the small business owners to sell their stalls and demanded that they leave within a month. So, I told you, wouldn't it be better to sell your shop to us? It wasn't until she saw that the person who had arrested her was in cahoots with those people that the Pig's Feet shop owner realized she had wrongly blamed Ok-Boon. So, it was all their doing. When she tried to resist, she accidentally fell hard to the ground. Seeing the people preparing to destroy her shop, a person suddenly stepped out of the crowd. "Stop causing trouble." The others heard that he was a government official. They immediately threw down their cigarette butts and showed him his name tag, implying that they were on the same side. They wanted Park Min-jae to turn a blind eye, but unexpectedly, Park Min-jae didn't give them any face. No, there's still a lawsuit going on. Even though it's private property, obstructing other people's business is still illegal. That's right, you're exactly right. Seeing Min-jae causing trouble, the people immediately reported him to his superiors. But now, Min-jae no longer wanted to be a hunting dog for the sake of his future career. That slippery eel, if you do that, the district chairman will be in a very difficult position. I'm not familiar with these kinds of power struggles. Sorry, let's just do our duty as civil servants. What's the principle of a civil servant? Don't stand out, just stand still and don't move. Park Min-jae only looked down on his superior's principles of being complacent and playing it safe. He had chosen to stand on the side of the vulnerable. The small business owners all praised Park Min-jae's actions. Seeing everyone's happy faces, Park Min-jae felt the joy of being recognized for the first time. Really thank you. On the way back, Park Min-jae saw that Ok-Boon's tailor shop was still closed. It wasn't just the thing with her brother that had exhausted her, but what pained her even more was that her rare remaining loved one, her close friend Jung Sim, had a sudden turn for the worse. Jung Sim had already been diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, and perhaps sensing that her time was short, she had left Ok-Boon a letter. And just then, a man burst into the hospital room, claiming to be a reporter from the Public Justice Daily. He said he was there at the invitation of support from the HL 121 Alliance. This alliance consisted of many human rights organizations working to promote the passage of Resolution 121 by the US Congress, a resolution that demanded that the Japanese government formally apologize for crimes against humanity, especially the comfort women issue. The appearance of the reporter, along with Jung Shin's worsening condition, finally brought Ok-Boon's lifelong buried secret to a point where it could no longer be avoided. That earth-shattering secret now had to be confronted. No need to stop it anymore. Anyway, I don't want to hide anymore. By Tuesday, major newspapers, big and small, were publishing news about Ok-Boon. She will be a witness going to the US to participate in a hearing on the comfort women issue. This news shocked the entire market. Everyone who knew her was incredibly surprised. No one could have imagined that the annoying old lady everyone complained about had carried such a tragic past. Ok-Boon went alone to her mother's grave. The resentment and pain accumulated over more than 60 years finally exploded in this moment. My mother's only instruction before she died was to keep secret the fact that I was a comfort woman, and not let anyone know. Mother, why did you think that was something to be ashamed of? Were you afraid it would affect your son's future? To have to hide and be timid your whole life? My parents and siblings all abandoned me. How could I possibly live with my head held high? My poor child, I've suffered so much. You should at least say one word before you go. Just say one word before you go, mother. Mother. Returning to the market, Ok-Boon discovered that even the person who had treated her the best regularly, even Jinju, had started to deliberately avoid her. This made her feel extremely disappointed and hurt. That evening, Park Min-jae, filled with remorse, went to her tailor shop. As soon as he walked in, he kept repeating, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry." He couldn't imagine how the frail old woman before him had endured so many years of hardship alone. But Ok-Boon didn't blame him. Instead, she asked the usual question, as if nothing had happened. "Have you had dinner yet?" She gently walked over and embraced the young man, who was crying like a child who had made a mistake. Immediately afterward, Ok-Boon took out an old, faded photograph that she had kept for over 60 years and handed it to Park Min-jae. This photo had never been shown to anyone. In the photo were young, innocent girls. They were the victims who had been taken by Japanese soldiers to be comfort women. Ok-Boon pointed to one of the girls in the photo and said, "That's my close friend Jung Sim." The door to her memories seemed to burst open, and she began to recount her past like a living hell to Min Jae. It was Manchuria, 1943. It's my turn. I have been waiting for a long time. I'm not finished yet. I haven't completed it yet. What are you going to do? I said he'd draw something beautiful for you. Draw the Japanese flag on it. OK Boon was taken by Japanese soldiers when she was only 13 years old. She was humiliated and tortured in an inhumane way. In her despair, she had wanted to end her life, but she was saved by Jung Sim, who was also in the Comfort Women's camp. OK Boon. OK Boon. Wake up, OK Boon. Why didn't you let me die? I don't even have the right to choose my own life, so why am I not even allowed to decide this life? If you die, how will I know how to continue living alone? Jung Sim had given her the courage to keep living. The handkerchief symbolizing their friendship was skillfully made by OK Boon and given to Jung Sim. They had promised each other that whenever they were sad, they would use the handkerchief to wipe away their tears and keep living strong. After the war ended, Jung Sim never gave up. She traveled everywhere, testifying and demanding that the Japanese government admit its crimes and apologize. She traveled all over giving testimony, but one time when giving testimony, the Japanese interpreter intentionally distorted her testimony, saying that they volunteered to be comfort women to eat white rice. From then on, Jung Sim realized the importance of language and began to work hard to learn English, hoping that one day she could tell the truth to the whole world herself. OK Boon read the letter that Jung Sim had left for Min Jae, which contained the words that Jung Sim wanted to say at the hearing. A few years ago, Jung Sim's consciousness began to fluctuate, and at that time, OK Boon felt that one day she would have to stand in for Jung Sim to complete her unfinished wish. That was the real reason why she ignored everything else to learn English, not only for herself but also for Jung Sim, for the thousands upon thousands of victims like them who had been trampled on and forced to remain silent. Park Min Jae, could you help me one last time? After pouring her heart out to Min Jae, OK Boon felt much lighter. After Min Jae left, she saw Jinju lingering outside the door, seeming to want to come in but still hesitant. She ran after her. She didn't understand why Jinju was avoiding her. Jinju, why have you been avoiding me lately? I haven't been avoiding you. Look, you still won't even look me in the eye. Don't you want to be friends with someone who has such a shameful past as me? What are you talking about? That's why even if you see me on the street, you pretend you don't see me. It's because I'm sad that I've been like this. It's because I'm too sad, so sad that I even caught a cold. Do you know how hateful I've thought you were these past few days? How long have you and I been together? And yet you didn't tell me a single word. If you had told me sooner, I could have done something, at least done something to help you. Am I not worthy of your trust? Why do you think I'm someone who can't understand your feelings? You have comforted me so much, but why haven't you? Your heart must be full of hurt. In the past, if anyone touched your hand, you would immediately feel uncomfortable and annoyed. At that time, I didn't know it was for this reason. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. You really are cruel. But I will tell you that if you had told me earlier, only be yourself, how difficult it would be. Those words from Jinju completely melted away OK Boon's defenses. Finally, OK Boon, who throughout all those years had never cried despite being misunderstood, humiliated, and even abandoned by her loved ones, couldn't hold back anymore when she heard the genuine understanding and heartache from Jinju. She let go of all her strength and defenses, warmly embracing Jinju and crying like a child. A few days later, she began the process of applying for a visa to the United States. After getting the visa, she practiced reading her English speech in the lobby of the public service office, repeating it over and over again. The employees there also quietly supported her. The small business owners at the market, after learning the truth, all expressed their concern and respect. Jinju even represented everyone by giving her gifts and wishes for a safe journey. Finally, OK Boon arrived in the United States. However, right before the hearing began, the Japanese side used the fact that she had not registered as a comfort woman victim years ago to cast doubt on her qualifications. They say you don't have any paperwork to prove it. Grandma, what's going on? Jung Sim always told me to register, but now it's become an obstacle. In the past, the country conducted a census of the victims who had been harmed as comfort women. At that time, I wanted to hide my past, so I didn't register. Because of that, they said I have no evidence to prove it. Even my own country can't verify my identity, so how can I be a witness at a foreign hearing? This is too much. Just because of my small pride, I ruined everything. After hearing that news, Minji in Korea immediately took action. He abandoned his usual calm demeanor, shouting loudly in the lobby of the public service office, calling on everyone to sign a petition. While he called on the whole area to sign, he also demanded that the government confirm OK Boon's identity. Very quickly, the senior leaders approved the application. But even so, Japan still didn't recognize the victim's confirmation. They cited a lack of clear evidence and claimed that Korea was only doing this for political purposes. Seeing this, Min Jae immediately ran to OK Boon's house and rummaged through her belongings to find the precious old photo. He believed that it was the strongest evidence. The hearing on the resolution demanding that Japan apologize for the comfort women issue officially began. The first person to testify was an elderly woman from the Netherlands named Misen. She recalled the memory of being captured by Japanese soldiers at the age of 21. Her voice trembled with emotion, her words choked with tears. To protect herself at that time, she had cut all her hair, but in the end, it only made them more curious. Someone in the hall raised a sharp and offensive question. "Weren't you a comfort woman for money?" "You dog!" Misen retorted angrily. Her dream was to become a nun, but how could she do that for money? They treated me worse than a dog. They beat me to stay within 4 walls, violated my body, and they even kept the little money I was supposed to receive, using all sorts of reasons. At the end, the elderly woman Misen gently lost her voice, tottering off the platform. Okebun quickly stepped forward, grasped her hand tightly, and offered her wordless encouragement. Next, it was Okebun's turn to step onto the podium. Some people began to boo, claiming that she was not qualified to be a witness. "Okebun, you're not a comfort woman. You have no paperwork. We don't need false testimony." Despite that, the chairwoman of the hearing resolutely countered and still allowed her to speak. But standing on the witness stand, Okebun, facing countless eyes below, suddenly became so nervous that she couldn't speak. When she practiced before, Minjae was always there to encourage her, helping her feel at ease. But now, she had to stand there alone, her mind completely blank. Just as the staff was preparing to invite her to leave the podium, a familiar voice rang out from the doorway of the meeting room. "How are you, Jennifer? How are you?" Okebun backed away and replied, "I'm fine, thank you, and you?" Minjae had finally arrived in time. When she heard the first English sentence they had ever learned, Okebun immediately regained her strength and courage. The arrival of Minjae and the old photo he brought as evidence meant that she was no longer alone. "If you need evidence, then I will show you the clearest evidence." Okebun took a deep breath, stepped to the front of the podium, and decisively lifted her shirt right there in the hall. Everyone present was shocked. On her abdomen were countless scars, crisscrossing, shallow and deep, intertwined. Even worse, there were Japanese characters and drawings of the rising sun flag tattooed by the Japanese army in the past. "I still have many scars like this on my body. Every time I see these wounds, the memory of that hell returns to my mind. Do you still dare to say that there is no evidence? I am the evidence. Ms. Misen, who is sitting here, is also a proof. All those who are surviving from this horror are proof." Okebun was finally able to speak in the English she had struggled to learn. Although she was still not fluent, she spoke her heart that had been suppressed all her life, sending a lifetime-late accusation to the whole world. "I stand here on behalf of the girls of that time. The girls whose dreams of youth were brutally erased by the Japanese army. We must remember the pain those girls suffered. Japan has committed crimes against humanity, but to this day, it still refuses to offer a sincere apology for the comfort women issue. We want to state clearly here, Japan used violence and threats to force us into becoming sex slaves for the Japanese army. Because of those hellish memories, we have lived our whole lives in pain. The shameless attitude of the Japanese, along with avoiding responsibility, makes us even more painful and angry. Our demand is not excessive, simply admitting your mistakes is enough. This is your chance to receive forgiveness while we are still alive. I was very sorry to hear about this. Why is it so difficult to say those words? Don't let that burden fall into the hands of future generations. Admit your mistakes and apologize soon. Please, those of you here, please remember everything we have been through. You must remember this tragic history, and you must never let it happen again." After her speech, the entire hall erupted in applause. Many delegates who had doubted her also stepped forward to express their deep apologies and respect. "Okebun, I am very sorry. I am really sorry. I am sincerely sorry. I admire your courage very much." But just as they were preparing to leave, the Japanese representative who had repeatedly tried to stop her chased after them, still not showing any remorse. He even brazenly asked Okebun how much money she wanted. Hearing that, Park Minjae was so angry that he wanted to rush over and hit him, but Okebun stopped him. She used the Japanese she had been forced to learn in the concentration camp to answer him. "You big idiot. Tell them I don't need that dirty money. Immediately admit your mistakes and apologize, you shameless, thick-skinned people. You will regret it." After that, the man said, "I don't care, that won't do. Please calm down. Let's go back to the room to rest." Okebun discovered that a man was waiting for her. It was her brother Yang. After 60 years, the brother she had always longed for was now standing right in front of her. Okebun immediately teared up with emotion. Her brother told her, "I read the article about you and heard your speech. Park Minjae kept calling me, begging me to come see you. It's only now that I know how much pain and injustice you've suffered. I'm so ashamed that I misunderstood you and distanced myself from you out of embarrassment. I can't stop apologizing to you." "I'm sorry, sister. No, I'm the one who should be apologizing. I'm the one who hurt you. I'm sorry, sister. I'm sorry." The two siblings embraced, weeping and sobbing together. This moment of reunion was what Okebun had been waiting for 60 years. This hearing contributed to the U.S. House of Representatives passing Resolution HL 121 in 2007. This was the first time the international community publicly acknowledged the existence of the forced sex slavery of women by the Japanese military and called on the Japanese government to apologize. OK Boon had done it. She had spoken on behalf of Jung Sim and on behalf of all the sisters who didn't live to see that day. But, as the end of the film mentions, even 10 years later, the Japanese government had not issued an official apology. Returning to South Korea, OK Boon went back to her everyday life. She still carried her small camera, diligently monitoring and managing the big and small affairs in the market. Only this time, the eyes of the merchants in the market were filled with understanding, respect, and affection. Thanks to her resilience and Min Jae's help, the market was finally saved. In the years that followed, OK Boon didn't stop. She continued to travel the world, giving speeches and recounting the history that must not be forgotten. Can you speak English? Of course. Perhaps it is true what people often say. A truly brave person is someone who dares to face a cruel life, who dares to look straight at spilled blood. OK Boon was such a warrior. She no longer hid, no longer feared. She used her actions to prove that as long as you have enough courage, the clouds will always clear, and justice will eventually return to humanity. We cannot choose to forgive while the perpetrators still walk with their heads held high, but we can choose to remember, choose to retell, and choose to fight to the end. We hope that one day, when the long overdue apology is finally spoken, survivors like OK Boon will be able to smile and say, "I'm okay."